Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor. Now in today's private group, in this video's private group video, I'm gonna ask the question, what are the reasons that BlackRock has not announced an XRP ETF yet? I think there's several, but I think it's coming. If you want to join, go to daixrp.com through the Patreon. If you'd rather join through YouTube, click the join button right below any of my YouTube videos. It's getting scary out there, folks. Check this out.
I'm MG, and I really like crime. I also make malicious hardware implants that are so small they fit into this USB cable. Which is why Lawrence asked me to help investigate the hardware for this article. We only had pictures, but that was enough. Someone received a hardware Bitcoin wallet in the mail with the official company logo on it. Inside was a letter stating that due to a breach, they had to replace their existing hardware wallet. That breach actually happened, and that's why the attackers here knew that this target already had a wallet. Looks like it was a real ledger, and they went as far as re-shrink wrapping the box. Inside was a real ledger wallet, but they soldered on a flash drive. It came with printed instructions that told you to plug in the ledger, but this was the flash drive mounting, and then run an executable that was stored on the flash drive. The executable then acted like a migration wizard to take your old passphrases and migrate it to the new wallet. These passphrases then went to the attacker.
Folks, I use Caleb and Brown because there I get institutional grade custody. I have a person I can talk to and give specific instructions about my account, such as don't let anybody move any of my crypto without you speaking to me personally on a Zoom. I can do that with Caleb and Brown. With most of these other companies, all you get is a support line or a support email. It's a mess out there. I also get institutional grade liquidity from all their OTC partners. That's the fact, Jack. XRPwealth589.com will forward you to my page on Caleb and Brown, and you can click the sign up today button. We're here, folks, 8 days out.
Hi, I'm Bree Teresi. I'm a model and a crypto enthusiast. The excitement is building. XRP Las Vegas 2025 is almost here. Learn more about the evolution of finance and Web3 from top industry leaders. I have my ticket. Do you have yours?
Now's the time to get your ticket at XRPLasVegas.com and check out the conference agenda. Also, builders and developers will have a shot at $25,000 in prize money with the best Web3 project ideas in a Shark Tank-like pitch.
Let's go, XRP community. Lock in.
Lock in. It's coming. Uh-oh, we've got some XRP that's moving a little bit. We were at 237 right now. $107,000 Bitcoin. The market cap is trying to get on up to 3.4 trillion. Here's Anthony Pompliano. He actually says not just Bitcoin, crypto.
Financial services is basically the new digital world and the old incumbent world are all merging. And so if you look in the public markets, you have companies like Robinhood, a very fast growing segment is crypto. If you look in the private market, you see a company like Kraken who's adding US equities. And so every exchange eventually, I believe, is going to end up having public equities, crypto, et cetera. And I think that you're going to see that in payment processors, asset management, et cetera. And so we're not necessarily going out saying we're going to go buy a crypto company. We're not saying we're not going to buy a crypto company. I think what we're looking for is kind of the broader financial services. And right now, most financial service companies, they're touching crypto in some form or fashion. But if you want to be successful, you've got to be able to operate in both worlds, we believe.
Good luck.
I appreciate it.
Okay, what else do we have? This tweet by Cowboy Crypto, who is the official cowboy of the Digital Asset Investor channel, now has almost 1 million people that have seen this. So I told Senator Loomis there's nowhere to hide if you're up to anything but a level playing field and removing the Bitcoin regulatory monopoly. Say hi to your son-in-law, Will Cole. Here's a reminder from Brad Garlinghouse. This is all we ever wanted. We want Bitcoin to do well. We want Ethereum to do well. We want XRP, ADA, you name it, XDC, Solana. We want them all to do well. But we want them to do well in a real free market economy and a level regulatory playing field.
Yeah, I mean, like years ago, before Biden was elected, what the words I used to use is, like, I just want a level playing field. Like, the U.S. government shouldn't be picking winners and losers. And, as much as I'm pro Bitcoin and pro ETH, the SEC, people forget this, but XRP used to be the second most valuable digital asset after Bitcoin. The United States SEC then gets involved in picking winners and saying, hey, ETH gets a pass, but XRP doesn't. And look, this is very, in my view, very un-American. And to your point, I think it used to be, I just asked for a level playing field. It does feel like, and I think certainly if you look at the crypto markets as a barometer, this administration is putting America first. And, well, I mean, we shall see. It's still, there's things to play out and things to happen. But I think indications are that, if, for example, there's some talk about a crypto reserve, I think that would end up including Bitcoin and other technologies, which, frankly, just makes sense from a diversification point of view. And so I'm very optimistic that it is a new dawn for the crypto industry in the United States. The United States has led in many technical innovations, and it was leading in crypto, and some of the leading global companies are based here in the United States. But the last handful of years in the Biden administration have been very hostile towards crypto, maybe amongst the most hostile on the planet, and that's coming to an end. So that's going to be good for the companies that Ripple included.
All right, and then we've got this from Ondo Finance. This is the big stuff, folks.
New partnership with JP Morgan for tokenized asset settlement. What does this mean in practice?
Yeah, so this is a big first for the industry. We completed a transaction where tokenized deposits from JP Morgan's permission blockchain ledger were used to purchase tokenized treasuries on our public blockchain Ondo chain. And it's really the first time that there's been this interoperability between a bank's permission blockchain environment and a public blockchain like Ondo chain.
So it was a test transaction. What's the next stage of this? What does that look like?
Yeah, so this was the first transaction on the Ondo chain testnet, and it was a pilot transaction to prove out the functionality. And we're working closely with JP Morgan and Chainlink to get to full production here. Once we're in full production, then anyone who is either a JP Morgan client or an Ondo client will be able to transfer between our respective tokenized cash products 24/7. So we're really excited to get that out there.
And what problem does that solve?
Yeah, so taking a step back, tokenized treasuries on public blockchains like what we have been building really just try to make U.S. treasuries more accessible to investors all around the world. We're building on the success that stablecoins have seen. There's over $200 billion in stablecoins circulating today, making the dollar accessible to individuals in emerging markets, individuals within the crypto ecosystem that don't have great access to financial services. And then in parallel, JP Morgan and other banks and institutions have been, endeavoring to drive efficiencies and cost savings around the settlement of cash on permissioned blockchain ledgers. So JP Morgan famously has their intraday repo facility on a permissioned blockchain in which, they settle cash very quickly with other institutions. And now that these two products are able to interoperate, we're able to start combining.
Who's been working on interoperability for over a decade?
Those benefits of cost savings and the benefits of accessibility together.
And so this is...
Okay, and a little reminder, full circle, no pun intended, Ripple+Ondo Finance, bringing OUSG tokenized U.S. Treasuries to the XRP ledger. And we had Craig Phillips as one of the board members from BlackRock. Tokenized U.S. Treasuries. Ondo Finance joins BlackRock tokenized fund as inflows surpass 160 million. There are no coincidences. Now, apparently the child, Jack Mallers, does not understand the Genius Act. Here he's talking about how U.S. Treasuries as world reserve asset is dead. Meanwhile, they're passing the Genius Act, which the whole purpose of stable coins in the United States is to buy U.S. Treasuries and replace the buyers that could sell to try to hurt us, like China or Russia. Talk about a complete lack of understanding. Rich Dad, what's his face? Guy Kawasaki, is that his name? He also doesn't get it. Rich Dad, Poor Dad author says the Fed held an auction for U.S. bonds and no one showed up. And this is going to be the reason for Bitcoin going up. I said, I think Rich Dad needs to watch the Genius Act more closely, the Treasury bond checkmate. And then he's wrong again here. He says the end is here. What if you threw a party and no one showed up? That is what happened yesterday. The Fed held an auction for U.S. bonds and no one showed up. So the Fed quietly bought $50 billion worth of its own fake money with fake money. Party's over. Hyperinflation's here. Millions young and old to be wiped out financially. Good news, gold will go to this, silver will go to this, Bitcoin to this. The big print, the title of Larry Lepard's latest book. Please read it. The end I have been warning about is here. And I corrected him with the Genius Act bill. Nope, the beginning is here. The beginning of the new financial system. Which, by the way, stablecoins can't be built on Bitcoin. They're going to be built on technologies like the XRP ledger. And I tried to tell you this, folks. This guy is outlining the MicroStrategy lawsuit. Look what he says. The outcome of this case matters far beyond MicroStrategy. If regulators or courts decide MicroStrategy violated investor trust, every public firm holding Bitcoin will face scrutiny, accounting practices, disclosures, and board risk models, which I've been warning you about, will come under the microscope. This could delay or even reverse corporate bond adoption across the U.S. Tried to tell you so many times, folks. Circle Payments Network, mainnet, is officially live. I'm sure this plays into the Ripple negotiations to buy them. Ratio between payments-focused XRP and Bitcoin's dollar-denominated prices has triggered its first golden cross on the weekly chart, indicating bullish shift in momentum. And we're kind of seeing it on CoinMarketCap right now. XRP trading platforms ranked by volume: Coinbase, Crypto.com, Kraken, LMAX, I've never even heard of that one, and Bitstamp. You know what? iTrustCapital, they route all their orders to all these exchanges. I'll bet some of the biggest XRP volume comes out of iTrustCapital, and it's attributed to these exchanges. And then we've got this. And I said it's gold, stablecoins, and real-world asset tokenization. Bitcoin will be a blip on the radar screen post-regulations. That's why they are scurrying around to trying to find as many company, state, and country buyers as possible before legislation.
Well, the ECB is afraid of gold as much as they are afraid of Bitcoin. They're both decentralized assets. And in them rising, it creates an instability in their policies of printing money. So I think it's much more of them being anti anything that's decentralized, that is some form of portable wealth. Gold is physical, tangible, portable wealth. And Bitcoin is virtual, but it's portable. And you have the same argument that they go against both. And we've seen this also with the Bank of International Settlements. And it's just how they are. They believe that they're the wizards of the world and they know how to print money. They're smarter at modern monetary theory than anybody else. And these assets like gold shouldn't be in your portfolio.
Okay, we're going to go into DAIXRP.com, the Patreon. If you'd rather join through YouTube, click the join button right below any of my YouTube videos. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Away we go.